Now, this isn't the video that I'd intended putting up today. As those of you that have followed me for a while will know, honesty, openness and integrity have always been the cornerstone of this channel. I always exercise due diligence. I do a lot of research. I also, if I can, speak at length with manufacturers and suppliers. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not happy with a product, I don't feel that I'm in a position to recommend it to you. And to that end, there have been some sort of developments over the last 24 hours or so. A situation caused by secret sources or ingredients in certain products. A situation brought about by ever-tightening environmental legislation globally. And a situation brought about by lack of communication. Now, it's always been my aim to do no harm when publishing videos. To be honest to you, the viewers, and give you the best possible information I can, and to be fair with suppliers and manufacturers. My loyalty is always with my viewers. That's my number one priority. And on this particular occasion, it caused a conflict for me. Now, I've had absolutely no time to prepare for this video, so all I can really do is just replay some old footage in the background while I tell you a story. Now, when I first started this channel some 2.5 years ago, one thing I really wanted to share with you was my method for bike cleaning. Something that I was particularly proud of, but not just my method, but also the chemicals and materials that I use, because they make a big difference. As you know, I have a history in the vehicle cosmetics industry, so I know what's good for automotive paintwork and metal and what isn't. A method that I hoped would enlighten people to be able to clean the bikes more easily and get better results. Now, one of the chemicals that I used was the MUC OFF bike cleaner, something that I've been using for about 20 years. And what had initially attracted me to this product was the fact that it was, right from the start, purported to be a salt-free bike cleaning formula, because a lot of the cheaper vehicle cleaning formulas did contain high amounts of salt that would get your vehicle clean, but they would also cause a lot of corrosive damage in the process. Now, around the time I was getting ready to make this video, there was a little bit of a controversy about MUC OFF bike cleaner, with 1 or 2 YouTubers stating that it contained high amounts of salt. And there were also some anecdotal stories online on the BMW forums from people that had had warranty claims for corrosion on the BMW bikes refused because the owners had admitted to using MUC OFF to clean the bike and it contains salt. Now, I didn't want to lead anybody up the garden path, so I decided to do some investigation into this. I watched some MUC OFF videos on YouTube. I didn't get the answers that I wanted, so eventually I left a comment on one of the videos asking MUC OFF, does their MUC OFF bike cleaner contain salt? Now, I did get a reply, but it wasn't really the reply I was hoping for. It was somewhere along the lines of, our MUC OFF bike cleaner is an alkaline bike cleaning solution, not an acid bike cleaning solution, so it's perfectly harmless to your bike. That didn't really give me the answer I wanted. I wanted to know whether it contains salt or not. And rightly or wrongly, as far as I can remember from my days at school in my chemistry lessons, you can have both alkaline and acid salts. Now, I remember going online and spending hours researching this, trying to find an answer that fitted in with what MUC OFF had told me, but I simply couldn't get an answer. Not a satisfactory one anyway. You try researching salt online, it will give you a nosebleed and a headache. Now, in the end, the only thing I could do was contact MUC OFF on the telephone and ask to speak to someone that could answer my question. And that's exactly what I did. I was put through to a guy in their market department. We had a nice friendly chat. I asked him the question, does MUC OFF contain salt? And he told me this, that the founder of MUC OFF, a keen cyclist, had noticed that people were causing untold corrosion damage to their bikes through washing them with cheap salt-laden car shampoos or even washing up liquid, and that he was inspired to produce a bike cleaning formula detergent that contained absolutely no salt and was safe on the delicate finishes of bicycles. That was good enough for me. I produced my first bike cleaning video, it got good views, and my bike cleaning method became known as the full filling 'em. There were two guys at MUC OFF that I dealt with at the time. They were pleased with the video. We cultivated a productive relationship whereby they allowed me to review certain other MUC OFF products. But I kept it open and honest. I reviewed the products that I liked and I didn't review the products that I didn't like, and I always made it clear that there were some MUC OFF products that I liked and some that I didn't. Now it got to the stage where I'd more or less exhausted the MUC OFF range and I moved on to other things. But by the middle of last year, 2018, I was starting to get requests from people asking me to do a cleaning video. Now, although I'd already done one, that was sort of getting lost in the sheer volume of videos that I'd produced, and it became apparent that people were having problems finding it. And it was also becoming very time consuming, me sourcing the link and sending it to them or posting it or whatever so that they could view it. So by Christmas last year, I'd made up my mind I was going to revisit this subject and I was going to produce 2 more videos on cleaning and detailing your bike. Now, another thing that had cropped up over the years was the fact that MUC OFF wasn't available in every country. And I was frequently being contacted by people asking me if I had an alternative to the MUC OFF product because they couldn't get it. Now, about that time, Silcoline had introduced me to their Wash Off product, a very similar product to MUC OFF. I did my due diligence, I had a look at the health and safety data sheets, and it was an excellent product that didn't contain any salt. Now, whilst I was doing this research, I also had a look at the MUC OFF product data sheets, and I discovered that it disclosed that MUC OFF contained 5% sodium salts. And that worried me a little bit because I'd been recommending it for 18 months, 2 years, telling everybody that it didn't contain salt. I needed some answers. So I sent an email to one of my contacts at MUC OFF querying this, and whilst I was waiting for a reply, I produced the video presenting the Silcoline product as a worthy alternative to MUC OFF for people that couldn't get hold of MUC OFF. Now, when I produced this video, a few people came forward. They'd also discovered that MUC OFF contained 5% sodium salts, and they asked me about it. I was still waiting for a reply from MUC OFF. I hadn't got it yet, and that's what I told them, that I had queried it and I was waiting for a response. But I didn't get one. About a month later, I sent a second email, and again, I got no response. A third email was sent to my other contacts at MUC OFF, and again, no response. By this time, we were in the middle of June, and I'd started getting requests asking me when I was going to be bringing out the new cleaning video. Now, eventually I got on the telephone to MUC OFF, and part of the mystery was solved because I was told that the 2 contacts that I'd previously spoken with had now left the company. I explained the situation but was told that procedures had now changed and I couldn't be put through to speak to anyone, and that I would have to write another email, which I did. I waited and waited, but I still got no response. Now, you can only do so much. I had actually delayed this video by several months. It appeared to all intents and purposes that MUC OFF no longer wanted to speak to me, so I decided I would have to go ahead with the cleaning videos with what knowledge I had. And last week I published the video on cleaning, and I knew people would ask me why I was using Silcoline and not MUC OFF, because the original plan was to demonstrate both of them. So I presented the video with the only information I had. Now, sodium salt can mean a lot of things. It's a very widespread and generic term, one which sodium chloride fits into very comfortably. And in any event, the revelation that MUC OFF now contains sodium salts and MUC OFF's apparent reluctance to talk to me about it had put enough doubt in my mind that I felt I was no longer able to recommend MUC OFF bike cleaner. Now, today is Thursday. Yesterday, Wednesday afternoon, I received an email from MUC OFF. Not from the marketing team, but from the managing director, Alex. He asked to speak to me, I rang him, and a conversation took place. Now, the conversation that took place was a very complicated one, but I would like to make it very, very clear that MUC OFF did not at any time make any sort of legal threats or offer any sort of inducement for me to make this video. Now, Alex started by explaining to me that there are many different types of salt. Some are harmful, some on the other hand are beneficial, and that in fact the types of salt that MUC OFF use in this cleaner have been scientifically proven to inhibit corrosion in metal, but it wouldn't tell me which salt it was. It is, if you like, a trade secret, a component which MUC OFF believe puts them ahead of the game, a card that they want to keep close to their chest. Now, that's all very well, I fully understand that, but as I pointed out to him, MUC OFF have always touted that the MUC OFF bike cleaner is salt free, and now they're saying that it isn't salt free, but it's a good salt, not a bad salt. Bearing in mind that MUC OFF themselves were instrumental in the villainisation of salt in these sort of products, and that to quietly start introducing salt to their MUC OFF bike cleaner without any explanation was always going to cause some confusion. And I explained to him that just as I'm not a chemist, neither are 99.9% of MUC OFF's customers or the viewers to my channel, and that the very obvious concern any of us are going to have when we learn that MUC OFF now contains sodium salt is that it's potentially going to cause corrosion when it's used on the bikes, on your pride and joy. And I also explained to him the extreme lengths I'd gone to in the preceding months to get in touch with MUC OFF to get this simple question answered. Now, Alex genuinely seemed unaware that I had been trying to contact MUC OFF, and the only explanation that he could give to me was that there has been a substantial turnover of marketing staff throughout the last year or so, and that somehow my emails must have been overlooked. He also conceded that he did understand how that might look to me. Now, it's true that in the past MUC OFF didn't contain any form of salt, and that the additive of salt into their bike cleaner is a relatively recent thing, and he went on to explain the reasons why. MUC OFF bike cleaner is now sold globally, it's sold all over the world, whereas in the past it was a product which was sort of limited to the UK and Europe. Now, as that marketplace has expanded, so has the need to adhere to the myriad of laws relating to consumer products like MUC OFF bike cleaner. So alterations had to be made to the formula in order to make it fit in every country. And this also meant that labelling on their general packaging had to be altered to comply with the relevant laws in every country. From what I can gather, certain elements of the original MUC OFF had to be removed and replaced with other things. And recent advancements and research into certain sodium salts had revealed that a select few actually had anti-corrosion properties. And among these was a particular sodium salt which not only had these anti-corrosion properties, but was also legal for use in all countries, and this is the closely guarded secret. He wouldn't tell me what it was, and I told him that I was unable to accept that and act upon it unless I was able to carry out my own research and confirm what he was telling me. Because I'm not prepared to stand up and tell my viewers that it's safe to use when I have no evidence myself that it's safe to use. And so we reached a sort of a Mexican standoff. Now, last night I went to bed. I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning with this running round in my head. And by 2:30 it was perfectly obvious to me that I wasn't getting any more sleep. So I got up, switched on my computer and got to work on Google. And by 5:15 this morning, I had the mother of all headaches, and I do believe my brains were actually starting to leak out of my ears. But I had gleaned enough information to believe what Alex had told me. I did find evidence that certain sodium salts are used in wastewater treatment plants for the sole purpose of preventing high carbon steel components from rusting. And armed with this knowledge, I again contacted Alex this morning. I put these elements to Alex, And after a brief consultation with his technical team, he did indeed confirm that the sodium salts I'd identified to him did belong to the same family as the sodium salt that they're using in their product. And that's good enough for me. This is a niche use of these particular salts. And using these salts as a rust inhibitor is what I've heard described in one article as a novel use of this salt. But the science is sound. I suppose MUC OFF should really be applauded for not taking the easy route and using the same chemicals that everyone else uses in order to get a competitive edge on other products. But the very fact that it is a sodium salt has inevitably caused this confusion. It might be that I was the first person to bring this up, but if I hadn't, I pretty much guarantee someone else at some stage would have. Now, in the past, if I've published something which later on has needed correction, I've always stood up and made that correction, and this is no exception. That's what I'm doing now. I don't feel guilty that I took the course of action that I took, because under the circumstances that I've explained, my conscience is clear. In a way, I think that this has been a good thing, because as I've said, the question about this salt was going to come up at some stage. And both myself and Alex at MUC OFF have agreed that it's been a good thing that this has happened, because now we've been able to clear the air and get the facts out there. And the fact is, I can safely say, hand on heart and in all good faith, that despite the fact that MUC OFF Bike Cleaner does contain an element which comes under the umbrella of sodium salt, it is actually a beneficial element, and that MUC OFF Bike Cleaner is safe to use on your bikes. So those of you that contacted me that still have several litres of it in their garages, go ahead and use it. There's absolutely no danger of it causing damage to your bike. Once again, for the avoidance of any doubt, the sodium salt that MUC OFF currently use in their bike cleaner is a scientifically proven corrosion inhibitor, as paradoxical as that might seem. Once again, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I will of course be back next week, so until then, ride safely and I'll see you soon.